I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the August 7th, 2024 regular meeting of the Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission. Item number 1 was call a meeting to order. We did that at 6 p.m. Item number 2 is to seat alternates if required. We have Mr. Wallace joining us this evening. Item number 3 is the hearing of residents. All right, so once again, I'm sure a lot of you have been here before, but let me just go over it real quick again. We have this portion of the meeting with hearing of residents where you signed up to speak. I will call those names in the order they signed up, and you will each have 3 minutes. Please address those remarks to the commission in general and not at any one particular commissioner. We also have on the agenda tonight three public hearings. During those public hearings, there will be an opportunity for anyone in the audience that wants to address the commission on that topic to do so. It's not required to sign this form. So when we get to that point in the meeting, I'll explain it a little bit more. And then when we get to the public input, you'll have the opportunity to come up and speak to us, okay? So let me read the official thing here. Hearing of residents, this time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the Planning and Zoning Commission. Each person should fill out the speaker's register prior to the meeting. Presentations should be limited to no more than 3 minutes. And hopefully the little timer thing will work there on the podium. Discussion by the commission of any item not on the agenda shall be limited to statements of specific factual information given in response to any inquiry, a recitation of existing policy in response to an inquiry, and or a proposal to place the item on a future agenda. In other words, we're not going to have it's not a two-way conversation. You make your comments. If you have questions, we'll write them down. Someone will get with you later. The presiding officer, that's me. During the hearing of residents portion of the agenda, we'll call on those persons who have signed up to speak in the order they have registered. So if you would please, when I call your name, if you choose to speak during this time, you have the option. If you can speak here and at the public hearing, or you can wait and talk at the public hearing. The choice is yours. But as you come forward, please step up close to the mic so we can all hear you and state your name and address for the record. So let's see, this is, well, I read Elliot. Can't read, I'm sorry, I can't read Eliud Lamboy? All right, come on up, sir.
Ready? Well, thanks for having me here. I'm a new resident at the neighborhood where we're talking about the...
Yeah, hang on just a second. I'm not sure that microphone's turned on. Can someone check
Check.
that? No, just, I won't charge it against you. We just want to make sure the mic's on.
Check.
Okay, there you go. All right. Go ahead.
So my name's Elliot. I'm just a new resident at this neighborhood that we're here talking about today. And let me say it's a nice neighborhood. I live with my fiance there. It's been for about a year. And we're getting a lot of negative sentiment about this gas station that's going to be built. So I took the opportunity to come here and speak with and express that negative sentiment. Just a couple of things of who I am. I'm a business analyst for Methodist Hospital. I'm also a registered nurse. And I'm also a veteran with deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, 2 deployments to Afghanistan. So a lot of exposures, in those deployments. And it's just, we have a lot of gas stations, and to think about, another gas station, I think there's an opportunity for the neighborhood to look at other options. And I know there's revenue to be made, but just an overall, I want to put before this committee a proposal that we look at other options besides a gas station, because there's an abundance of gas station around the church neighborhood. So main thing is I want to express my negative sentiment on behalf of my household, and that it is a great neighborhood, and we would love to keep it that way as a great neighborhood for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Loretta Brand, did I get that right?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Loretta Brand. I'm a resident of Willow Grove, and I'm here to speak on behalf of myself and my fellow neighbors. I've been a part of Willow Grove since 2016. It's a very beautiful, welcoming neighborhood. One thing that I would like to point out is the safety and traffic concerns for a gas station being built with the interest, the ways they're going to come. When they were building, the Dollar General store, our traffic somewhat slowed up a little bit. We got more traffic coming down to 1518 than we had ever experienced living there. So with the idea of a gas station, the entrance, the exits, the school buses, the students that will be coming off of these buses, now we're introducing more traffic from people coming into this entranceway or the exit way. We experienced, say for instance, when the Dollar General store was being built, more cars driving through our neighborhoods. We experienced more robberies in our vehicles. We experienced a whole lot more things than we had ever experienced before. I'm not looking forward to that. And also, my husband and I are both Navy veterans. My husband served 23 years, exposed to chemicals, exposed to a lot of different things. So it's not a matter of if, a spillage is going to happen with the gas tanks and everything underground. It's when. And truth be told, when we first built there, we were told that those properties belonged to our housing development. If I had known that a gas station was an option, I would have never built there. I would have never built. And truth be told, it may be a reason that I will sell my home. My husband does not deserve to be exposed to any more chemicals that we purposely put here. We didn't sign up for this. This is something that's purposely being put into our neighborhoods. And I think that should be considered, as well as the traffic. We moved out here off the 1518 for a reason. And this is not one of them, a gas station. We can think of anything else, but a gas station is not it. It's not. We have newborn babies. We have military people with little kids. Like I said, it's going to be when it happens. And these people come in and out. And we're purposely planning to put something there, something underground that has the potential to affect every single person that moves in and out of this neighborhood. And I think that should be really, really considered. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, those were the only two people to sign up for hearing of residents. Give me just a moment here. So item number 4 is our consent agenda. There are 2 items on there. Item A is the election of Planning and Zoning Commission Chair and Vice Chair. Item B are the minutes from the July 3rd, 2024 regular meeting. I am going to pull item A from the consent agenda because, well, that's all right. Technically, there's no discussion allowed in the consent agenda, so we can't really have elections without, so I'm going to pull that off. Item B, the minutes from the July 3rd, 2024 regular meeting. Commissioners, do we need to pull that for discussion? If not, may I have a motion to approve consent agenda item B?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, Commissioner Wallace. I have a second?
Second.
That was Commissioner Carbone. See, I need to make a note here, pulled. All right, so we have a motion to approve item 4B. No discussion, so if you would, please record your votes. All right, I see 7 votes. Can we publish that, please? We have 7 ayes, none opposed. That motion passes. All right, so we will come back now to 4A, election of chairman and vice chairman. And the way the chairman would like to handle that is, I think we'll start with chairman. I will open the floor for nominations. They do not require a second, okay? And after we're done, if once all the nominations are made, we will then close the nominating period and we will do a voice vote on the nominations. Everybody okay with that? All right, so at this time, do I have a nomination for chairman?
Like to nominate Mr. Outlaw.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? You know, that's how I ended up with it in the first place. Nobody else wants to do it. You all sure? All right, so I'll close nominations. All in favor of me as chairman, signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, thank you all, I appreciate it. Okay, vice chair. Nominations are open.
I nominate Ms. Goldick.
I'm sorry, who is that? Ms. Goldick? Okay,
I nominate Richard.
as Commissioner Brode. Do you accept the
Commissioner Brode.
nomination for?
I cannot accept the nomination at this time.
Okay. So Ms. Goldick is refusing, thank you, John, but, yeah. All right, so then she has nominated Commissioner Brode. Do I have anyone else? Nobody? All right, we'll close it with Commissioner Bro. All those in favor of Commissioner Bro as vice chair signify by saying aye. Aye. All righty. All those opposed signify by saying nay. No? Okay. All righty. We got to have a little fun now and then, because the next part is usually not fun. Just curious, show of hands, how many were here last year when we discussed this? Most of you, okay. All right, so we're at item 5 now, which is public hearing. And as I said, we have 3. The Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing related to zone change requests, specific use permit requests, and Unified Development Code amendments within this agenda. The public hearing will be open to receive a report from staff, the applicant, the adjoining property owners affected by the applicant's request, and any other interested persons. Upon completion, the public hearing will be closed. The commission will discuss and consider the application and may request additional information from the staff or the applicant if required. After deliberation, the commission is asked to consider and act upon the following requests and make a recommendation to City Council if necessary. And I will start off by saying all 3 of these issues are only recommendations on our part. The final decision is made by City Council. So very quickly, the way these work will one by one. Staff will give us a presentation, and then if the applicant is present and wants to give a presentation, they can do so. After those 2 presentations, I will open the floor for public comment. At that point, anyone in the audience that wants to address us on that topic feel free to step to the microphone. I need your name and address for the record once again. When everyone has had their say on that particular topic, I will close public input, and at that point, the commission will discuss it. I want to make it you understand that there's no 2-way discussion here. You get to say what you want to us, and then we get to talk about it, okay? But there won't be any back and forth. there was something else. And again, 3 minutes. I have a little leeway. I haven't seen the lights working yet. Typically, the green light will come on, and that means you have 3 minutes. And I don't know, around 2.5 or something, the yellow light will come on, and at 3, the red light will come on. If you're still talking when the red light comes on, don't panic. I will just ask you at that point to try to wrap it up, okay? So that we can move on. And we do that so that we can hear from everybody, because that's what we want to do tonight. Okay? All right. So item 5A is a public hearing. ELSPU 2024-0142. Hold a public hearing and make a recommendation on a specific use permit to allow a convenience store with gas pumps in general business district on approximately 1.61 acres of land known as Bear County Property Identification Number 1396038, generally located southwest of the intersection of FM 1518 and Schaefer Road, City of Schertz, Bear County, Texas. Sam?
Thank you, Commissioners. PLSPU 2024-0142, specific use permit to allow a convenience store with gas pumps located at the intersection of Schaefer Road and FM 1518. Samuel Haas, Senior Planner. All right, just to get our bearings here, the subject property is outlined in green. Schaefer Road to the north, FM 1518 right here to the east, Willow Grove subdivision to the west. It's approximately 1.61 acres of land. It is currently undeveloped and it is zoned for general business district. On July 26, 18 public hearing notices were mailed. Responses received as this presentation was being put together, we had 20 opposed and 1 sign was posted on the property. So per the applicant letter of intent, they're proposing a strip center with a convenience store, a gas station with electric charging stations, and a shopping center. And per the UDC, the gas pumps specifically require a specific use permit in general business district. So in evaluating the criteria for approval, we look at UDC section 21511D, and I'll read these one at a time. So number 1, the proposed use at the specified location is consistent with the policies embodied in the adopted comprehensive land plan. This area is designated as complete neighborhood, and you can see the property here with the blue star, which offers a variety of housing types along with some limited commercial. The commercial provision that's within this proposed specific use permit is consistent with the comprehensive land plan. Number 2, the proposed use is consistent with the general purpose and intent of the applicable zoning district regulations. General business district is intended to provide suitable areas for development of non-residential uses, which offer a wide variety of retail and service establishments. Generally oriented towards serving the overall needs of the entire community, the strip center with gas pumps would meet the intent of this zoning district. Number 3, the proposed use is compatible with and preserves the character and integrity of adjacent developments and neighborhoods, and includes improvements either on-site or within public rights-of-way to mitigate development-related adverse impacts such as safety, traffic, noise, odors, visual nuisances, drainage, or other similar adverse effects to adjacent development and neighborhoods. So is this compatible with the character and integrity of the neighborhood? So there is adjacent commercial developments to this property. There is also neighboring commercial zoning districts. The property does abut 1518. So as you see here, you can see the zoning districts in blue going all up and down FM 1518. There is an adjacent commercial development just to the north. And so in that sense, it is compatible with the surrounding land uses. Number 4, the proposed use does not generate pedestrian vehicle traffic, which would be hazardous or conflict with the existing and anticipated traffic in the neighborhood. The property does abut 3 separate rights of way, and this will help to minimize conflict with existing traffic. Those right-of-way are Schaefer Road, Brook Orchard, and also FM 1518. Our engineering department will review a more detailed traffic impact analysis at the time of the site plan process. Number 5, the proposed use incorporates roadway adjustments, traffic control devices, or mechanisms and access restrictions to control traffic flow or divert traffic may be needed to reduce or eliminate development-generated traffic or neighborhood streets. The applicant has not provided anything demonstrating roadway adjustments Again, our engineering department will review a more detailed traffic impact analysis at the time of the site plan process and will determine what mitigation methods will be required at that point. The proposed use incorporates features to minimize adverse effects, including visual impacts of the proposed use on adjacent properties. So Article 9 of our UDC is in place to ensure that these adverse impacts are mitigated and minimized. Such of these requirements are included but not limited to an 8-foot masonry wall, a 20-foot landscape buffer, lighting setbacks that are equal to the lighting height. Light sources also must be concealed from residential properties. These are requirements in our UDC to help minimize and mitigate the adverse effects. And as an example of a similar property, this is on Live Oak and Schertz Parkway. Where my cursor is a convenience store with gas pumps abutting a residential subdivision. Here's a street view of that same property. So you can see the 8-foot masonry fence, the 20-foot landscape buffer, and you can see that lighting has to be shielded from the neighboring residential. It's just an example of some of the mitigation methods that they would have to do. So number 7, the proposed use meets the standards for zoning district or to the extent variations from such standards have been requested. That such variations are necessary to render the use compatible with adjoining development and the neighborhood. So the proposed development will have to meet all the dimensional design requirements in the general business district as stipulated in UDC section 2157. No variations to the requirements have been requested either. Number 8, the proposed use promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the city and the safe, orderly, efficient development and healthful development of the city. So as part of promoting health and safety and welfare, the city should encourage development that is compatible with surrounding uses, utilizing standards and traditional uses to alleviate the negative impacts. And as mentioned before, this is compatible with surrounding uses given the commercial zoning districts and also the neighboring commercial. And generally speaking, whenever we like to encourage transitional uses in between principal arterials and residential uses, and this would serve that purpose as this is a commercial function here. Schertz Fire, EMS, and police departments were notified of the specific use permit requests and have had no objections. Number 9, no applications made under this provision will receive final approval until all back taxes are owed. To the best of staff knowledge, no back taxes are owed, and this does not impact recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission. And number 10, other criteria which at the discretion of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council are deemed relevant and important in consideration of the specific use permit. Staff has ensured that all UDC requirements have been met and at this time have not received any special consideration from the Planning and Zoning Commission or City Council. Staff is recommending approval of PL SPU 2024-0142 conditioned upon the following. A building permit is approved within 2 years of the adoption of the SUP ordinance.
All right, thank you, Sam. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation? Welcome, sir. If you would, name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Patrick Christensen, 315 East Commerce, San Antonio, Texas, here on behalf of the property owner. I'll begin by, I'm sure as you all read the staff report, we were here 7-8 months ago, and why are we back? Well, this body recommended approval, and we get to the council hearing, and I do this for a living. I'm a land use attorney. I go to New Braunfels, Schertz, Cibolo, all the towns, and your process is a little bit different. So we had the council public hearing, and then they closed the public hearing. Well, then council had a bunch of questions when they started debating the case amongst themselves, and I can't say anything. I can't jump up. I can't do anything, and I couldn't even ask for a continuance. I would have asked for a continuance and used that time to try to reach out to some of the council members, but I didn't get that opportunity. And so they had a quick vote, and it got denied. So we said, you know what? Let's wait. Let's quietly market the property, see if there's anybody else that would like to locate a business there. And if it's nothing we like or not a good opportunity, we'll come back. So that's why we're here. So in the meantime, we did reach out, and the only interest we had in the property was fast food chains. And the property owner really doesn't want to do a fast food strip right there. Our goal here is to do a convenience store gas station with the electric charging and to have a little strip center. And the strip center will have your normal neighborhood commercial uses. It'll probably have a dry cleaners, it'll probably have a nail salon, maybe a sandwich shop, things like that. That's what we're trying to do here. I mean, the property's already general business, and I know The neighborhood has some concerns about the access we have to Brook Orchard. It's a little street that stubs out to FM 1518. But the developer, when he did a master development plan for the property, he planned that. So, I mean, that's part of our access, the three streets. We have, Schertz, Schaefer Road, Brook Orchard, and FM 1518, which I'm sure you've all seen is under a huge construction project where they're going to make it a 4-lane highway. It's going to be a major arterial between FM 78 and IH10. The traffic generated by the small shopping center and the gas station is not going to be a huge effect on that 4-lane highway. We just don't think so. You've heard some concerns about, the gasoline that we're going to have there. And they're going to mention benzene because they did the last time. You get more exposure to benzene when you put gas in your car than you're ever going to get from being a resident living behind this gas station. That's just a fact. If you put gas in your car, you put gas in your lawnmower, you spill a little bit on your fender, you spill a little bit on your driveway, you're getting more exposure to benzene than you're going to get from this gas station as just a citizen living behind it. And if you look, we submitted a site plan to staff. They didn't put it in their presentation. We have the gas pumps as close to the corner of 1518 and Schaefer Road as we can. The gas tanks underground that are fully regulated by the TCEQ will also be out on that corner. And then between that, you have the gas pumps, then you have the gas station, which our gas station shopping center basically is a thin rectangular building that runs north and south from Schaefer Road south. So the neighborhood will have their existing masonry fence, the fence we're going to have to build. They're going to have a 20-foot landscape buffer. Then they're going to have a building, and then they'll have the gas pumps. And then in front of that, they'll have the gas tanks. And I would almost offer there'll be more pollution coming from FM 1518 than from our gas station. So, all that being said, we decided to come back and see if we could try again. We're asking for the specific use permit for the gas station. We think it's a good use for the area. Yes, there are gas stations on FM 78 and there are gas stations on IH10, but I'm sure y'all know better than I do. There's a lot of houses coming in between those two thoroughfares. So clearly we think it's a good location for a gas station, and we think the neighborhood commercial would be a good use at that intersection. So we would ask for your support. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And just a quick comment, I don't know about city council, but during our discussion, we're allowed to ask you questions, okay? Just like we can ask staff questions. So, all right, so what I'm gonna do now, it is 6:27 p.m. and I'm gonna open the meeting for public comment. No, you don't have to raise your hand. Just give me a sec here. You don't have to raise your hand. Just come up to the microphone. I need your name and address for the record. And again, try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Everyone will get a chance. So, no need to raise your hand. Okay, so go ahead, sir.
My name's Rod Fisher. My address is 10224 Aurora Sky. And I've spent 40 years with my hand in fuel, 20 years in the Air Force and 20 years for the Defense Logistics Agency. And I've been hauling fuel or inspecting gas stations since I was 17. So as a resident of the neighborhood, I really wanted to be here tonight to talk to you that our concerns are very legitimate, and most of them are safety oriented. Before I retired, I ran across an article that somebody wrote down in Houston, a question that they sent to Earth Talk. And I know I only have limited time, but I wanted to read a couple extracts because talking to my neighbors in Willow Grove and over on the other side, both sides of Willow Grove, these are the concerns I'm hearing, so I wanted to share them with you because I think they're very relevant today, and I please would ask you to consider them. The letter starts off, Dear Earth Talk, I'm looking at possibly buying a house that is very close to a gasoline station. Is it safe to live so close to a gas station? The concerns I have are that I have toddlers and I have infant babies. Despite all modern health and safety guidelines they must follow, gas stations can still pose significant hazards to neighbors, especially children. Some of the perils include ground level ozone caused in part by gasoline fumes, groundwater hazards from petroleum products that leak into the ground, and exposure hazards from other chemicals that might be used. It's true that most gas pumps today must have government-regulated vapor recovery boots on their nozzles. And they limit the release of gas vapors while they're refueling the car. They have a similar system for the hoses they use to offload the trucks. But these boots aren't always working properly. And the nearly odorless hydrocarbon fumes, which contain harmful chemicals, can be released into the air, and they are. Higher ozone levels can lead to respiratory problems and asthma, while benzene is a known cancer-causing agent. Underground gasoline tanks can also be a problem. Many lawsuits have been filed against oil firms across the country because groundwater was fouled by gas stations leaking in underground storage tanks. Thousands of gallons of gasoline enter the soil. Chemicals travel to groundwater, and the EP says a source of drinking water for nearly half of the U.S. If buying a home, consider its potential loss in property value if a nearby underground storage tank were to leak. Very real concern. I can tell you, gentlemen and ladies, that when we bought those properties, I've been in that subdivision since the very beginning, we were led to believe that they weren't zoned for this kind of business, and this is a surprise to all of us. When I retired from the Air Force and I did my second career here, I would have never picked that home, and I can speak for a lot of people in here, had I known there was going to be a gas station very nearby as you are proposing. Now, you'll notice on my shirt I have a thing that says Fueling the Forces, which I did for 40 years. There's a time and place for service stations. We need them, have to have them today. Can't live without them. But that place is not right next to our houses. And I would ask you all to please consider that if that was your house, and that was a gas station being built right beside where your children are playing. And consider also the thing we haven't talked about is the fuel trucks, which I drove for years, that are going to be driving into that area, dumping fuel loads, and leaving, which is a very dangerous operation in itself, right next to our houses. I thank you for your time today, folks, and thanks for listening to us.
You're welcome, sir.
Good evening. My name is Carlos Tienda. I live at 10516 Pecan Branch. My house is directly behind the property that this great businessman is trying to build this gas station. But I'm here to share not just the personal concern of having that type of a business right behind my backyard, but it's really more the concern for the whole community, and not just the community that lives there. It is the communities, your grandchildren, family members that will attend school at the school right across the street and just further down the road. One of the biggest concerns for me is, aside from the chemicals that you're going to hear some data of information, just like you heard the previous time when we were here. One of the great things that this gentleman did in the previous one is he displayed the actual plans where he's going to have entrance and exits going into the property. My concern, while 1518 is going to be expanded, there is going to be sidewalks and areas where people can use their bike or run. And if that area is going to cross the entrances where those individuals, family members of ours and other friends of ours are going to use that location, the potential of safety is a huge concern for me. If you take a look at the plan where now there is a Dollar General right there, as that expansion continues, the usage of those properties will create somewhat of a traffic effect. Over time, as you see FM 1518 is expanding, the buses coming in and out, traffic going into our community, to include those now fighting for us to try to get into our homes, and them trying to get into the gas station. The distance to that location is not that far. As you can see, it's probably only 300 kilometers by the time you hit the actual intersection. Think of the traffic that is going to happen there. So for me, that's a huge safety concern. Two, I have my grandson living with me and a bunch of other children. But it's not just them that is a concern. Someone mentioned here that we as veterans, because I retired from the Army with 24 years, and the exposure through our deployments that all of us have had in those two locations that we deployed in, among others, is a concern for us as we continue to get old. Please consider that, as that is very critical, not just to us, but to our family members. The biggest aspect of all of this is the security for me. Security, as those, while the lights will be dimmed and they say it will not affect, we know for a fact that the lights are going to still play an important role in affecting the property that is going to be right next to it. While I don't want to be personal, I don't want to sound selfish because my property is directly behind, I want to collectively express our concern to be able to say that while this property, while gas stations say it is important and it's needed, we do have two, as you probably heard, maybe three, and maybe even four already, only 2 miles of distance from our locations. Consider the schools, consider the traffic, Consider the increase, the walking and running traffic that is going to happen there, please. And consider us that live close by as we get exposed to these chemicals that are potentially there. Now, if a business is a Starbucks, I'll be the first one to put a gate on my door so I can have breakfast for my wife and coffee every morning. So any business, I understand that it is a business, but does it have to be a gas station, knowing that we have so many? I wanted to express my concern. I know others are going to come with some more detailed information, and thank you for listening to us.
You're welcome, sir.
Hi, my name is Christina Brown, 11709 Cypress Barn. And so my concern lies with Willow Grove is unique in the sense that it backs up to the base, essentially backs up to the base. So I'm a jogger. I jog in the morning, and depending on the weather and the wind direction, sometimes I get hit with the smell of JP8. So if I have jet fuel on the back end and I'm jogging my trail, and now I have increased pollution from having a gas station, idling vehicles, the amount of traffic that we currently already have, I think that that's too much. And I think that there's other places on 1518 that may better be suited for the gas station that don't back up to current hazards already. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carly Gentry. I live at 10413 Aurora Sky. Many folks here in Schertz, though, know me as Dr. Gentry because I serve as their primary eye care provider. So I've really come to love this community here in Schertz. I've been living at Willow Grove for about 7 years. I live with my 2 young boys and my husband, who is active duty military. And so we've all seen the increase in population throughout the city, and we understand that with this increase in population, there's need for increase in infrastructure, but we must be smart about how, when, and where we place these facilities. There are a few unique aspects about the business model of a gas station that I want to point out. One of them being that most people that use a gas station, it's quick. They come in, they fill up, they leave. So in other businesses, this kind of traffic would seem suspicious, but at a gas station, it's normal. So there are other kinds of transactions that can occur when there's a very quick, enter and exit. What I'm referring to, of course, is potential drug transactions, theft, or even armed robbery. So my research indicates that criminals and thieves, they prefer these kind of businesses because it's not suspicious, it's under the radar for them. But if an incident were to occur so close to where we live, it would be super easy for an individual to enter our neighborhood to flee or even hide. Or God forbid there be gunfire and we're in the line of fire. So it's also a made-to-order stop for a lot of the homeless population and for addicts. I mean, people that struggle with addiction, because there's long hours, there's access to alcohol, and access to a lot of people coming through for free handouts. And so, I mean, the risk of this business, this type of business, is just not worth it. I mean, y'all may be thinking, okay, Carly, we see that, but there's nothing we can do if these incidences occur, and I understand that, but you do have control over whether putting this business in such close proximity to where we live would increase the chances of these incidences happening. So I just stand here in front of you today as a mom asking you to please hear what we say, because I'm just trying to distance my boys from this potential harm of this type of business. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. My name is Lance Campbell. I live at 10408 Pecan Branch, very close to the proposal. I'm a retired Air Force officer and prior enlisted Army guy who did about 24 years of active duty with tours in both Desert Storm and Afghanistan. Currently a civil servant on Randolph, where I'm in charge of the force development for all Air Force scientists and engineers. I oppose the construction for the following reasons. As my fellow neighbors have mentioned and will continue to mention, we have many concerns with the gas station being constructed so near our homes and the schools that educate our children. That's one thing that hasn't been focused on enough here is how close this construction is to the schools. Of course, as noted, there are significant concerns associated with the vent pipes and benzene that my neighbors have spoke about. And we're also concerned with crime. Gas stations are known to attract violent crime, and the fact that our homes are so close to the school is very concerning. My wife is sitting here. Her sister was shot at a gas station while she was fueling, so this is close to home for us. And of course, we're also concerned about the impact of our homes' values, and in addition, we're concerned about the traffic, which is what I'm here to focus on. This slide up here, you can see the expansion of 1518. As you can see that it's growing quite a bit. The red lines show where it's going to grow to, which reduces the size that this plot's going to be allowed to be on. And further, you can see how close it is to the school. Speaking of the school, when in session, this area is incredibly high traffic, with the primary outlet of the neighborhood directly across from the school, just a short distance from a stoplight on the other side with a Dollar General. The planned access to the gas station is through our neighborhood's entrance, as Texas DOT won't allow access from 1518. This will increase the traffic and will inevitably cause dangerous situations as people enter and exit the gas station during peak times when people are trying to go to work and take their children to school. Even today, we have people coming in and out of our neighborhood to do turnarounds after they drop their kids off. So again, this is the school here. This is our neighborhood. Their proposed entrance and exit is right here on where we go in and out of our neighborhood. And the other side is over here where light is. This is a very short area here. Keep in mind, as my neighbor said, this isn't just the people getting gas. These are the fuel trucks that are coming in and out as well. That's an incredibly tight space for that. The traffic's so bad, in fact, that police are often stationed down here where the middle school is. So when school is in session next week, if you were to come out here, I expect you'd see police here controlling entrance and exit to this road. And this road gets completely backed up as people are trying to get to the school and make their drop-offs. Now, add to that, as a rule of thumb, each proposed pump at the gas station should generate between 100 and 130 visits a day. The convenience store itself, depending on its size, will bring in another 1,000 to 2,000 trips per day. So we're talking up to 2,500 trips in and out of our neighborhood using our neighborhood entrance each day. Much of this concentrated during the peak traffic times. When are you going to get your gas? It's when it's convenient for you to draw, when you're near the school. And finally, with respect to property values, homes within 100 meters can expect to lose about 16% of their property value, and homes within 600 meters can lose up to 9% of their property values, which is a lot of tax revenue and loss of homes, value to our homes. And obviously that's a concern to us. That's all I had.
All right. Thank you, sir. A lot of information there. Thank you.
Bill Schertz, 10425 Bowie's Knoll. I was here last year when we closed it. There are exactly 23 gas stations less than 3 miles from where we live. Over 65, it's 67 within 5 miles. You really don't need it. As far as the safety, I brought up last time, it's 20 foot from 1518 Schaefer Road where the Dollar General comes out. Where they're proposing with the gas station, it's going to be less than 20 feet. I've been almost T-boned a few times. Turning, coming home, people shooting out at the Dollar General. That's something to think about. We're citizens, we live here. I know none of you got it. You got to understand, we got to worry about our families. And we got a Dollar General. Do we really need another convenience store across the street? We don't need neither one. Thank you.
I'm Mary Standifer. I'm at 10305 Hoot Owl, and unfortunately this summer COVID hit us. I'm not here to discuss the fact that this proposed gas station is going to decrease our property values, and I'm not here to discuss the fact that this proposed gas station could increase crime. I drive a car, and I rely on gas stations to fuel my car and get me from point A to point B. I am here to talk about the B word, benzene, and to ask what protection will be put in place to keep everyone, especially children, safe from the benzene that's released into the air through evaporation when filling underground storage tanks. The World Health Organization classifies benzene as a known carcinogen, and long-term exposure can have harmful effects on the body and cause childhood leukemia and other blood diseases, or cancer, sorry. I'm here to ask, what are you going to do when the vapor recovery boots aren't properly working and the nearly odorless hydrocarbon fumes, which contain benzene, are released into the air? I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to risk the life of a child or anyone else. I don't know if you've ever lost anyone to cancer, but I have. So please consider a location that's not across the street from a school.
Good evening, members. My name is Kyle Lucas. I live at 10409 Pecan Branch. As some of my neighbors have spoken about already, the major issue with the gas station is the benzene, just like my most recent neighbor spoke about. And as this gentleman said, you do get exposed to more benzene if you spill it on yourself. But the main thing he did not specify is intensity. Anyone can tell you that you get hit with a lot when you get poured on. But just like with a bank account, you don't want $1 or one-time payment. You want over-time payments. Same with gas station, same with benzene. Over time, you are going to get exposed to more and more than you want. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Everything happens within gradual increases. The tanks will eventually leak. It's just how osmosis works. Everything escapes its containment. Sensors will fail. Unfortunately, unless you have very expensive equipment, it's very hard to detect. I don't know about you. I don't have the money to buy the very expensive equipment to make sure that my area is protected from those sensors not failing. So I do expect that this is going to be developed. Everyone here expects it to be developed. It is a general business, unfortunately. But we would like to be developed to something more applicable to a walkable neighborhood. You will find more traffic and more benefit if the families in this area can walk and use the sidewalk that is going to be put in with 1518 to better benefit the businesses in that area. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Alex Smith. I live at 11708 Cypress Barn. I'm here tonight for the safety of my children and my neighbors. We have 12 kids, 12 children that live within the 200-foot perimeter that was put forward in the proposal. I know it's inconvenient, but benzene is a known carcinogen, as my neighbors have expressed. A 2017 meta-analysis is looking at lots of studies and aggregating them. It concluded convincingly that there are increased risks of childhood leukemia among those living near specifically gas stations. National setback standards of 300 feet have been established across the country as a setback distance. It's been adopted by many, and that 300-foot setback was based on estimates that our vapor recovery systems would work as advertised. A 2019 study of American gas stations found that benzene levels in actuality are well over 10 times the amount that was expected. A lot of that has to do with the vapor. Every 1,000 gallons that you pump at that gas station, you're going to lose at least half a pound to vapor. Instead of 8 to 10 parts per billion, at gas stations we're recording 110 to 400 parts per billion. Now, a brief period being exposed to 8 to 10 is okay. And as the developer mentioned, yeah, you can get gasoline on your hand. And for that instant, you may be right around 8 to 10 billion parts per, 8 to 10 parts per billion. Thing is, you wash your hands. You move away from that exposure. The World Health Organization has deemed that any indoor benzene is unsafe. And yet, Benzene at 2 billion parts per billion inside homes were found consistently. This is the mean, this is the average at 328 feet from gas stations. Furthermore, emission levels from the underground storage tanks, from their venting systems, and you need those to operate underground tanks. It was found that the levels of benzene were sufficiently high to constitute serious health concerns at 524 feet. It's no wonder that the federal government guidelines now recommend placing schools no closer than 1,000 feet of existing gas stations. Just so happens we have 900 kids going to school across the street, under 10 years old, who are well within that 1,000 feet, and they're going to be exposed to this on a day-to-day basis. You can't wash your hands of that. It's consistent. Also, not surprisingly, communities across our country, I'll throw out some examples. Clarkston, Georgia, 500 feet setback, now mandatory. Pleasant Grove, Alabama, 500 feet. Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, 1,000 feet setback from schools, recreational areas, anywhere where people are gathered. At our last meeting, my daughter had the gumption, if you remember, Mr. Commissioner, to come up and voice her concerns. And what we got back was, one of the comments was, if your parents were really concerned about your safety, they wouldn't live near an Air Force base. I served most of my life in the Air Force. I am intimately familiar with our rigid aviation safety and hazardous materials protocols, and I trust my brother and sister airmen to keep us all safe here in Schertz. On occasion, yes, you're gonna smell some JP-8 when you're near the base, especially if you're in the flight line, when our T-38s are flying and training. But when I scope this down to a very small level, if I even look at it 1 mile by 1 mile and low-level flying, we're looking at a dispersal area of 140 billion cubic feet. This gas station is going to be less than 200 feet from our homes, from our kids.
Excuse me, sir, I've already given you an extra minute, so if please.
I'll wrap it up, Mr.
Wrap it up
Commissioner.
for us.
Thank you. Similarly, when we gas up our vehicles, we're exposed to some benzene, but we get in our cars and drive away. Commissioners, we can't move Willow Grove. We can't back away. This is going to be with us 24/7. And our kids are at risk. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Lucas. I live at 10409 Pecan Branch. I do want to point out how many members in the audience are here for Willow Grove. This is a far cry from the last time, sir. It's a far cry. I'm a retired physician assistant who lives in Willow Grove's estate. I'm here tonight to voice my opposition to the proposed gas station with a convenience store development at the front entrance of our community. We've previously obviously addressed this, and we had 4 city council members who voted in agreement with the community. We are asking that this support be continued. The reasons I'm going to discuss are the wants of the community and the hazards to our health, which have been covered. I saw from the agenda that you noted that there were only 20 opposed. Based on my walk around the community and the petition that I presented to you, this is not entirely accurate. The community, as you know, is divided into Willow Grove and Willow Grove Estates. I focused on the estate side because the public hearing notice was only a week ago. That's the one that is closest to the proposed location. There are 78 homes that are assigned to the Willow Groves estate according to the BCAD. I was able to reach community members in 60 of those homes. I have a petition with signatures of 90+ folks who are opposed to the placement of a gas station. To be fair, there were 2 homes that were ambivalent, one that was for it, and one that was a rental home and did not feel comfortable signing the petition. So the math reads that 75% of the folks who live in this portion of the community closest to the hazard do not want it. The real reason this is before the P&Z, though, is because it requires a special permit because of the hazards that are associated with this project. The first point under community development is that it is the city's desire to promote safe, orderly, efficient development. The risk of underground tanks leaking is real. The risk to the health of the kids that go to school just 328 feet away is real. The risk of increased health hazards, especially to those who live directly behind the gas station, is real. Many of us are retired military members who have had multiple exposures, and many of us have had cancers. We don't need any additional. Once the tanks go in the ground, we as a community are stuck with the hazard.
There's a 2015 study titled Hydrocarbon Release During Fuel Storage and Transfer at Gas Stations, Environmental and Health Effects. I want to share just a few quotes as it discusses the real risk. Occupational studies have linked benzene exposure to numerous blood cancers, including acute myeloid leukemia and acute non-lymphocytic leukemia. At gas stations, fuel can be released in both liquid and vapor phases during delivery, storage, and dispensing. Repeated spills could be of greater concern for groundwater contamination. The health consequences of nearby residents of gas stations have not been studied. However, it is known that contaminated groundwater can affect large numbers of people, and if groundwater is used as drinking water, as it was in Camp Lejeune, and I know we're all familiar with that. The health risks of living near gas stations are not well understood. Particularly affected are residents nearby gas stations who spend significant amounts of time at home compared to those who leave because of work due to the longer periods of exposure. Of particular concern are children who, for example, live nearby, play nearby, or attend nearby schools, because children are much more vulnerable to hydrocarbon exposure. I know the last time Mayor Gutierrez made a point of mentioning the same thing was done in Samuel Clemens, and they didn't say anything. We are saying something. We do not want the gas station in front of our community. Development will occur, we know. We just don't want the gas station. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Mike Alsaus. I live at 10422 Cotton Spindle. I would just like to address you all to say that there's that 200-foot zone that goes around, that there's, my count, 11 houses that are involved in it. We all know that if just 25% of the residents in those houses objects to it, the council kicks in the supermajority for the vote, which means only 2 council members have to vote against this. Based on the vote the last time and based on what you're seeing with what everybody's presented behind me, I'd recommend you save the council some time. I have been equivalent to a mayor before for a 75,000 area space, and I wish that the planning commissions would have came forward with the toll package and stopped stuff from coming up to have to be voted on before it ever got to us, so that we didn't have to deal with it when we already knew that it was most likely going to go down in the vote there anyways. So I ask you to please consider that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, I want to make sure, because again, once I say no more, you've lost the chance to comment. So there you go. You guys, yeah, come on up, because this is your opportunity. And let me throw in here real quick before you start, sir, that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for YouTube. The city has a YouTube channel. And my experience is if not all of the city council members will watch the video of this meeting. So you'll be heard not only here, but then again, you'll have the opportunity to address them directly. Okay? Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, good evening. Excuse me for being late. My name is Ken Sterling. I'm the president of the HOA for Willow Grove. And we have received a few requests from other developers to develop on the property in front. And I've denied them all because of access to our area coming into Willow Grove. They've asked, and they've also asked that there's a 12-foot barrier or division between where they want to develop and our fence line. And I've said no. We've got with our lawyers, we've said no. We've also been told, I've been told that TxDOT won't allow a access off of FM 1518. And they would have to drive into our community, okay? And I immediately said no at that point to all the development. So if you put a gas station there, they're going to have to come down Schaefer Road or come into our community in order to access it. And I plan to get with our lawyers and talk about that, because it would have to be redeeded. There's a lot of things that have to be redone. So I'm going to be honest, I'm totally against it. Okay, and I don't think the homeowners want it, just as you see whenever everyone here. And the other thing is, what's the need? I don't know if anybody addressed that already tonight, but what's the need for a gas station there? Because they're putting a QT down at I-10, it's 2 miles away. There's another gas station right there on FM 78. So if there was a need for something like the Dollar General, it became a need. There's a lot of developments there. But the need for a gas station isn't there at all. So I don't understand it. If you're going to develop, we understand development is going to come. Put something that's needed there, but not a gas station. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Jason Bishop. I'm at 10437 Shadowy Dusk.
Can you maybe pull that mic up, just bend that thing up?
It's not made for tall people?
No, not really. There you go. Try that.
Well, I think the true debate here, I think we're talking about the wrong issue. A gentleman mentioned putting in Starbucks. I think we need to put in a Dunkin'. But definitely what we don't need is another gas station. I have a PhD from University of Virginia. I've switched careers now. I'm working in economics and finance, and so I more or less have a corporate finance and economic outlook. But the last gentleman brought up the point that I was going to make, is that the Valero station that's on 78 is 2 miles from the intended or talked about gas station. And then the one down the street at the Shell station, I think that's what it is, at I-10, that's 3.6 miles. And this gas station being in between, it is not going to generate additional revenue or transactions that's already being generated by these other two. So there's not an economic need or benefit of this. There's only downside. So you have decreased house values, and I can provide several studies that indicate that. FBI statistics in 2022 indicated that 4.7% of all violent crime takes place at a gas station. So you're immediately just increasing crime. I didn't even consider the school across the street, which is a really good point. And so, let's see, there was something else I was going to mention, got lost. And also another thing on the economic front is that you're taking profit away from the other two gas stations, because again, you're not bringing in any new people into this. So I think in addition to causing harm to the residents, you're also taking business away from the already established businesses. And I think we have a responsibility to be concerned about the economic development and to try to fortify it and not to decrease it. But I have to drive at least 10 minutes to get to a Dunkin'. And I know my fellow neighbors do as well. So I propose that we change the narrative from a gas station to a Dunkin', and we can talk about, maybe we can get into a start, maybe we can bring an independent coffee person, but I don't think that I can't see a true need or help or any benefit at all at any angle other than a third competitor coming in and wanting to generate profit for their own company. And while I'm all about economics, I'm not for just giving business to make business at the expense of the community when it's not needed and it doesn't serve a purpose. Thank you for your service.
Now, you see a couple of minutes, nobody wanted to come up. I'm glad, see, that's why I keep asking. ahead, sir.
Hi, thanks.
Sorry.
Todd
Go ahead.
Dishon, 8926 Green Grant. Just Mr. Christensen mentioned there was some interest in a fast food, and the previous gentleman mentioned that. Just see some data that came out today. The average Chick-fil-A revenues, this is the average store, $9 million a year. McDonald's, $4.5 million. He mentioned Dunkin', over $1 million. Starbucks, about $2 million. So from a revenue perspective, there might be some options there that might meet the residents' goal as well as one of the potential suitors for that property. Thanks.
Good evening. I'm Myron Shirley. I live on 10405 Boys Knoll. I just want to pile on the pile here. I have some coworkers. I work on base 2 at Randolph, 20-year Air Force veteran, retired. I also have retired veterans that live in Crossvines, which is right down the street. I told them about this gas station, and just to agree with everybody else is saying is they've said they wouldn't rather have a gas station here either. They'd rather have something to eat. We'd rather have some restaurants or some places to eat, just like everybody's renting than a gas station. And besides, I fill up my gas on base or HEB or somewhere else. So, but thanks for your time.
Anyone else? Going once? Twice? Okay, it is 7:06 p.m. and the public input portion is closed. Commissioners, let me just, I've got a whole list of things, but let me just hit a couple of general things. Number one, the gentleman that was a mayor somewhere, okay, unfortunately, the way the law is structured, we don't have approval. The only authority we're given is to recommend to City Council. The way the law is structured, or at least the way the city charter, I don't know how, but we do not have the authority to approve or outright deny SUPs, zoning requests, and a couple of other things. They all have to go to City Council. So what we do is we take your input, and we'll discuss it here in a bit, and we try to make an informed recommendation to City Council. Now, the prior meeting, where this was considered last year, yes, the commission recommended approval to City Council, but it was not a unanimous recommendation. It was 4-2, 4 in favor, 2 against, or something like that, okay? Yeah, I think these other things I can save until after you folks have had your say. Anybody want to start? Questions, comments?
I'll start.
Go ahead, John.
Left or right? All right. First, thank you for your input. I know you all took time out of your day to come over here and tell us, and this is our civic duty, and this is your civic responsibility, and I appreciate that. A couple of things while you guys were talking. You know, the internet is wonderful. You can look up things very quickly. And so started getting really smart on benzene and some of the things that have benzene in them, and I wanted to talk about those. And if you have a gas stove, you get benzene from that. If you smoke cigarettes, you get benzene from that. Glues and paints, JP8 from Randolph, and you have I-10 3.5 miles away, and you also have the expansion of 1518 that's going to pour benzene into your neighborhood. Benzene is everywhere. It's everything we use. It's from glues to adhesives. At the same time, within Schertz city limits, we have an Exxon, which is across the street from Schertz High School, Clemens High School. We have a Valero that they actually use an example of a very similar setup on Schertz Parkway as well. The expansion project on 1518 is basically going to turn what you call 1518 now into 3009. And if you've driven up 3009, there are businesses, gas stations adjacent to residential areas right now. I also agree that there should be a Dunkin'. I'm with you. I'm not a Starbucks guy. I love my Dunkin'. You should laugh at that. I thought that was pretty good. And I wanted to address the elected official thing. We were just appointed by the city council. Mr. Outlaw said it. All we do is recommend to the city council. They give the thumbs up, they give the thumbs down. And that's how we should want it, because those are the individuals that we collectively elect to sit and represent us. We're appointed. We do this as a volunteer thing. None of us are getting paid. And so I just want you to understand that we're just citizens of the community, just like you, and we want the best for our community. So.
Thank you, John. Anybody else? Who's next? Patrick?
I have a question for, I guess you. Does the city have any standards on how far away from a school or a residential area that a gas station can be?
No.
Clayton?
So in the applicant's presentation, they talked about electric chargers being a part of it. Is that lumped into the gas station portion, or is that something that they could still do? So I know the convenience store portion and basically everything else of the development could go as is today. We're just looking at the gas stations. So the electric charger portion also lumped into this.
The electric charger does not require a specific use permit.
Okay.
It's the gas pumps.
Anyone else? All right. Here comes. You ready? Sam, is this property already platted?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, real quick for your benefit, here's the process. This property is zoned general business, and there's an entire list of business types and uses that are what we called by right in general business. And it's a convenience store without gas pumps. It's, believe it or not, a gas station without a convenience store. I don't think anybody builds those anymore, but you can have fast food, retail. I mean, there's a very extensive list. Now, one of the things that's the purpose of an SUP, a special use permit, is to allow us to consider, so Sam, typically the use chart, we would see general business, and then what's next?
General business 2, and then manufacturing light.
Right. So convenience store with gas pumps by right in what, is it allowed anywhere?
I believe it might be permitted by right in manufacturing light.
Okay. So, and the way it's structured that way is because the city recognizes there are some functions that may not be appropriate in that particular zoning. And so it gives us the opportunity to do what we're doing tonight. Rather than if somebody wanted to come in tomorrow and build the Dunkin', they don't have to ask anybody. The zoning is appropriate. They just go over to the building department and well, they probably have to go to planning with a site plan. There's a little more to it than that. But basically, they don't need the city's approval. I don't know if you all remember, if you were here, when they wanted to build the Walmart in Cibolo. And the neighborhood residents just, I mean, they were up in arms. And they recalled just about everybody on the council. But the truth of that whole matter is that property was already zoned. There was nothing that council could do to stop that Walmart. That's not the case here. And I think you all recognize that something is going to be built on that property. You know, the question is what? Okay. You could get, there's Dollar General, Family Dollar is their competition. They could build there tomorrow. The zoning is appropriate, saying. The other thing that we have to try to balance is the property owner's right to use his property and your rights as property owners. And that's kind of the line we walk. I'm not sure where I was going with that. Again, if you folks have heard me before, I'm really good about giving history lessons. I moved to Schertz in the summer of 1989. I've been here 35 years. There was nothing on 1518, and I mean nothing, okay, other than the wrecking yard that's out there, and I think that concrete plant was there, and then you got out to 10. And unfortunately, what happens is folks like you want to live out there, so the developers build homes. What does that do? It brings traffic. And TxDOT, if any of you have lived in Texas long enough, you know they're 20 years behind where they should be when it comes to roads. You know, and Mr. Hawes pointed it out in his presentation, we have gas stations adjacent to residential properties all over Schertz. I appreciated all the facts. You know, you folks seem to have zeroed in on the benzene hazard, and I'm not going to argue with you. I'm a retired firefighter. I know what hazardous materials are. But I don't want to say it's a problem, but the reality of the world is the city of Schertz doesn't regulate. We don't have, I never knew that the federal government said a school should be 1,000 feet from a gas station. I've never seen that, okay? And I don't know if maybe that's something we need to take a look at, see what kind of things are out there that maybe we ought to start considering. You know, it's just a thought. But we don't have that information. Fuel stations are regulated by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. And as the fire marshal for this city, I oversaw the building and the emplacement of, you know, more than one fuel station and more than one fuel tank. And at some point, I used to have to go and before they put the tank in the ground, they have to do a pressure test. And it used to be I would go witness those. Well, TCEQ basically took that authority away from me. They did it. I wasn't supposed to, you know, wasn't supposed to bother anybody anymore. But my understanding is all modern gas stations, that's a double wall tank with, and that's designed to start the leak entrapment process, and they're all placed in some kind of a containment system. And then that entire thing, before it's buried, there's a leak detection system installed. Do they really work? I don't know. You know, at some point you have to put your faith in somebody. Now, as the fire marshal, I would inspect those gas stations once or twice a year and for various things, but, and some of you talked about the vapor recovery boots. And in my mind, what I'm seeing is when you go to Houston or where I grew up in California, you got those rubber things around the nozzle. And so when you stick that in there, they're recovering. We don't have those here, at least not yet. You won't find them anywhere in Bexar County, Guadalupe County, Camargo. We don't have them. So you stick that nozzle in there and all that stuff's just going out in the air. It's really difficult for me because you know, I don't want to, well, the only thing I can say is I don't want to poo-poo your comments, okay? All that scientific is great information, okay? But I'm not you know, I'm just an ordinary, now I do have a biology degree, but that sucker is 60 years old, so who knows? But again, we have gas stations all over this, not just our area, but all through San Antonio, Bexar County, you know, all through Texas. And I'm not seeing anything in the newspaper about cancer breakouts and next to gas stations. And so, you know, I appreciate the information, but I don't know what to make of it, okay? And to answer one person's question, yes, I lost my mother, my stepmother, I'm sorry, my mother, my mother-in-law, and my father-in-law to cancer, okay? And I'm a cancer survivor. So yes, I understand, okay? I was fortunate in my 20-year Air Force career, other than being on base, my job didn't expose me to a lot of this stuff that's floating around out there now. Somebody talked about need. Do we really need another gas station out there? I don't know. I tend to agree with you. I don't think we need it, but I have to assume that the property owner did some kind of market analysis before he just jumps in there with both feet and invests hundreds, if not millions of dollars in building a service station. He's done some kind of market. And I don't know if you drive around, these things, to me, it's counterintuitive, but you drive around, they're popping up everywhere. They're almost finished now. We have our third QT up on 35 at Civil Valley Drive. If you go out 78 at 1103, QT is building a gas station there. If you drive 46 between Seguin and I-35, these gas stations are popping up everywhere, and yet I'm thinking about the price of fuel, the initiative to go to to me, it's counterintuitive that all these gas stations are popping up, but they are. And again, I have to assume that whoever's building them has done some kind of research to decide that it's going to be worth their while. And Sam, I'll just cut to the chase here. Whether or not it's safe for you folks to have a gas station right there in front of your subdivision, I don't know, okay? I really don't know. But the traffic impact, it's also my understanding, and unfortunately, we changed the rules a while back, and they're not required to show us a site plan anymore. It used to be they had to show us a site plan, so we could really see where the driveways were going to be. And Mr. Oz will tell you, the other staff folks will tell you, I'm no big fan of TxDOT. I don't know who's running that outfit. It's the Texas Department of Transportation. And yet, every little subdivision seems to have their own policies. You go out here and it's just about, just taking it off the diagram that you had in our packet, it's 400 feet between Schaefer Road and the entrance to your subdivision, frontage on 1518. And that used to be the old TxDOT guideline. They said, well, we don't require, that's primarily exits off the highway and stuff. But so you go out there and you got 400-foot frontage, and TxDOT's not going to give you a driveway access. But you go up here on 399, and 150 feet from Rips Chrysler at the stoplight, there's a driveway into QT. Well, who approved that one? TxDOT. But apparently that's the New Braunfels people, and out here we're talking to the San Antonio people. I don't know. Go figure. And so my problem, Sam, is that because of the way we've restructured the process, let me just give you a hypothetical. So here's what'll happen. Doesn't matter what we say. Let's say the council decides to approve this special use permit. Well, the property's already platted. So then what they'll do is they have to do the traffic impact analysis. They have to come to the planning people with a site plan. And typically, history says if TxDOT says no to a driveway, they don't get a driveway. And my biggest concern about this project is that the access comes off. Well, Schaefer Road is one thing, but to have access, ingress and egress for this thing off an entry to a subdivision, I object to, And so how do I make a rational decision tonight, not knowing whether or not to, because I'll be honest with you, I'll be real upfront with you. I think if TxDOT gives them access to 1518, I'd lean towards approval. But I don't know that tonight. And that'll turn out to be a staff decision, okay? Because in my mind, I talk about all these, we have several gas station, convenience stores with gas pumps that are next to residential subdivisions, but none of them take their access off that entry and exit from the subdivision. Okay, you go over here on this corner. He has access off of Live Oak, and he has access off of Schertz Parkway. Where else can I go? You go down here to on the corner of it's not really Elbow anymore because you go across the street and it becomes a different street. Arrow. And he's right up there in the corner with houses behind him, but his access is from Schertz Parkway and Arrow, not from the street that leads into your subdivision. And that's part of my problem, Sam, is we've kicked these kinds of things down the road to where I don't know how they're going to turn out, okay? All right, let's see. I got on my text dot soapbox. I talked about TCEQ and the delayed, and again, the last thing I wrote here in capital letters, underlined twice with exclamation points, is access. So, and again, please understand, I'm not trying to minimize, that's the word I was looking for earlier. I'm not trying to minimize your health concerns. The problem I had is I just don't know. You know, my daddy used to tell me that there were two sides to every story. So I've heard your side. So I just don't know. So I don't really want you to feel like I've minimized those concerns. I just don't know what to do with them. Okay? Who else? Anybody else? Yeah. Go ahead.
So, you know, as I was sitting and listening to Mr. Outlaw talk about access to the gas stations, I just want to comment that, you know, I think for us that live in this community, that love this community for the reasons that we do, it's incumbent upon us to determine what type of community we want to have, right? You know, fortunately, I don't live in a neighborhood that has to make a decision or be concerned about whether or not a gas station is going to be placed outside of the entry to my community, where my kids are, you know, maybe crossing streets to get to school, things of that nature. I just wanted to say that, you know, I think it's the property owner's right to put whatever property they want there. But I think for the citizens of Schertz and those that live in Willow Grove and in the surrounding area to determine, you know, what type of community you really want to have and to let that voice be heard, right, to the city council or whomever, because I think that's part of the challenge, you know. What does 1518 ultimately look like? You know, I hear, you know, they talk about having some places to eat. I know if I lived off 1518, I would want to have somewhere I could go and eat as well, buy groceries or what have you. The gas station is problematic for me, you know, mainly because of the ingress and egress using the same street that leads into the neighborhood. You know, and I know that they haven't done the traffic impact study or traffic impact analysis, but that's a challenge. So I just wanted to leave and say, you know, we have to determine what type of community we want to have, what services that we want in our community, and let our voice be heard, you know, during the quiet time when no one's planning to develop outside of your neighborhood. You know, we need to be talking then about what we want our communities to look like. And I can tell you, I've been all across this state, all across this nation, and I've seen master planned communities, and it looks like things were done deliberately and on purpose to support the citizens of that community and provide the goods and services that they needed and needed access to. And I'd like to see that, and I don't know that plopping a gas station there supports that perspective. So, but I would just, you know, recommend that, you know, the citizens of this community do that, let your voice be heard, and let's do what makes sense for the safety and welfare of us, our children, right? It can't just be important when someone wants to put something somewhere that you don't want, right? Because the rest of the year, as we get engaged in our, you know, busy lives, we don't even think about that. But, you know, if we're gonna live in the community, then we need to participate, right? And with the election season coming up, you know, now's the time to start thinking about, you know, things matter, especially at the local level. So I would advise to get engaged and be part of what actually ultimately goes there if you ever think that there's something that could potentially go there that you don't want. So thank you. That's all I had.
I'm gonna echo a couple points real quick and bring up something else. This is really for the commissioners. A couple things that are brought up is that a lot of the comments made were not specifically opposed to development. It was opposed to one specific kind of development. We're not talking about zoning this from pre-development to general business. We're allowing one specific thing that people are a majority against. You know, the applicant even said they've been approached by people who want to develop something similar to what everyone has said. Not everyone has said that they're generally open to, but the ideas that are being thrown up have already been proposed, but the applicant is set on, we want to do a gas station. So, you know, with that, I know how I feel about this. You know, I'm not opposed to development overall, but this specific thing does not seem to be appropriate.
Thank you, sir. And Commissioner Hector, your comment about what kind of city, you know, how do we want our city to look? That's what the comprehensive land use plan was supposed to be. And we had a vision, and that vision now has been changed. And honestly, it was no surprise to me how it turned out. It's basically what the developers want out there. So, but other than that, I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah. Did you have something else?
Yeah, which is my point, that, you know, that we as citizens, we have to get involved and engaged in the process, right? Even when things are quiet, you know, and really understand what, you know, our elected officials, what they want, right? Because they're ultimately are the ones that are going to be the decision makers. And I'm fine with, you know, electing someone into office, into a position or what have you. But I also know that I'm still duty bound to follow up, right? Trust but verify. Anyone that's been in the military understand, you know, so yeah. But that gets to that point, you know. We have elected officials for a reason, and it's times like these that, you know, we need to let them know, right? And if we demand to know what a comprehensive land use plan would look like so that we can envision the future of our communities, then we need to hold someone to account for that. And it needs to make sense, and it needs to line up with our own standards, values, our vision for the community that we want to live in. Because letting it happen by happenstance is not acceptable, and it doesn't work, you know. And the more that we allow that to happen, then we're going to get what we get, right? And then we have to make decisions about, oh, okay, now I need to find somewhere else to live, you know? But, I mean, I've been in this community over 20 years myself. I raised my kids here, loved it, you know, got out of the military because I did not want to leave the community in the environment that they had an opportunity to live in, you know. But I would just, you know, highly recommend that we get actively engaged, right, in the community that we live in, and come back home to every single day, because that matters. No matter where you go and work, when you come back home, you know, that matters. So, so I would highly encourage that. And there's a lot of development opportunities on 1518. Maybe not in all other parts of the city, but on 1518. So if you live anywhere near or off 1518, I know if it were me, I would be actively involved in that, even when things were potentially quiet. So thank you.
Anyone else? All right, this item is, our task tonight is to make a recommendation to City Council on this special use permit. And we have basically three options. We can recommend approval, we can recommend denial, or we can recommend approval with conditions. Now, if I understand staff's the way it's presented, there are no conditions for the approval from your point, right? Oh, no, that's right. It's the 2-year building
Yeah, just
permit.
the building
Okay.
permit be issued within 2
I'm
years.
sorry, yeah. As soon as I said that, the little light clicked on. You know what they say, getting old is, So, a recommendation, unless you change it, a motion to recommend approval would include staff's condition of a building permit within 2 years. So if we don't have any more discussion, Chair will entertain a motion for one of those three options.
I'll make a motion to deny the specific use permit.
All right, that was
Second that.
Commissioner Wallace, correct? And the second was Patrick McMaster? All right, so we have a motion and a second to recommend denial of PLSPU 2024-0142 to City Council. Is there any more discussion? All right, now, go ahead, Richard.
Just to make sure, a yes vote will deny this and a no vote will approve it, correct?
Well, basically, and I was going to cover that to make sure you understand. A yes vote on this motion would be to recommend denial to City Council. Okay? So a yes vote, we don't get to deny it. All we get to do is recommend. But basically, yeah, a yes vote is denial. Okay? Is that everybody okay? All right, record your votes, please. All right, I have 7 votes. You want to publish that, please? All right, we have 6 affirmative, 1 opposed. So that motion will go to, that recommendation of denial will go to City Council. Now, let me ask you a couple questions real quick here. Is this going to require a supermajority? Do you know that yet?
The supermajority requirement is for zone changes.
Okay, so not for an
specific
SUP.
use permit.
Okay, so this will be a simple majority vote at City Council. Do we know when it's going to be on their agenda?
Tentatively scheduled for September 3rd.
September
3rd.
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 Okay, so, and we won't publish another notice, correct?
There will be a published notice in the San Antonio Express.
Okay. So anyway, those of you that are here, and again, it's tentative, but this item will be on the City Council agenda on the 3rd of September. Okay? Now, you can monitor the city website.
Yeah, the website as well.
because this will be a public hearing at City Council. And if you scroll down a little bit on the city website, you'll see the news things and the crawlers, and so you can look and verify when this will be on their agenda. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So it's 7:33, so I'm not going to recess, but I think I'm just going to pause for 2 or 3 minutes because I assume most of you folks don't want to stay. So those of you that want to depart, please go ahead, and we'll just hang loose for a minute here. Yeah. All right, I think we're back here. And for those of you that may be watching the live stream or watch the recording later, I apologize for that break. So moving on, item 5B is another public hearing. PLZC 2024-0155. Conduct a public hearing and make a recommendation on a request to rezone approximately 71 acres of land from single-family residential / agricultural district and agricultural district to approximately 41 acres of single-family residential R2 and approximately 30 acres as single-family residential district R6, known as Bear County Property Identification Number 310022, more specifically known as 12840 Lower Seguin Road, City of Schertz, Bear County, Texas. You're on.
Good evening, Commissioners. PLZC 2024-0155. Again, a zone change from 80 to R2 and R6. Daisy Marquez, planner. Here's the subject property. It is located along Lower Seguin Road. Here is that Saddlebrook Ranch development. Again, it's Bear PID 310022. It's 71 acres in total, and it is currently undeveloped. It is currently zoned as single-family residential agricultural district RA along Trainer Hill, and then along Lower Seguin, and then the rest is agricultural district. And again, it's undeveloped. To the north, Lower Seguin. To the south, we have agricultural district that is residential and ag. And then to the east, we have, again, Lower Seguin, where it comes down to the creek, where we have some more single-family residential agricultural, and then it goes into the city of Cibolo. And then to the west, we have more within the city of Schertz. We have some that is still PDD, and then some more AD and RA. On July 22nd, we sent out a total of 13 public hearing notices, and as of August 7th today, we received 4 in opposition. A sign was posted on the property by the property owner, and it will be posted in the San Antonio Express before City Council, and it is tentatively scheduled for the September 3rd City Council. I do want to point out that it has reached that 20%. And again, this does not impact the Planning and Zoning Commission, but it will affect a supermajority, and it does trigger that supermajority vote from City Council. So UDC Section 2154 states that a zone change is required to establish the use of land and development associated with the proposed zoning classification for the purpose of establishing and maintaining sound, stable, and desirable development. And again, the total acreage of the property is 71 acres. And they're trying to do 41 acres as single-family residential district R2 to the west, and then to the east, they're trying to do 30 acres as single-family residential district R6. So again, staff looks at criteria in UDC Section 2154D to evaluate zone changes, and I'm going to go through them one by one. One, whether the proposed zone change or zoning map amendment implements the policies of the adopted comprehensive land use plan, including the land use classification of the property on the future land use map. So yes, the single-family residential district R6 and single-family residential district R2 implement the policies of the adopted comprehensive land use plan, future land use map. And the subject property is designated as complete neighborhood in the future land use map. And you can kind of see here on the map where the property is outlined in yellow with the yellow star, just showing where it is. And you can see that the surrounding area that the property is in is also complete neighborhood. So complete neighborhoods are general areas characterized by a mixture of housing options with supporting land uses. And the comp plan specifies that when considering appropriateness of housing density or commercial activity, factors such as roadway classification, conflicts among land uses and buildings, as well as undue concentration or diffusion of population should be considered. And their proposed R6 and R2 will provide a mixture of housing options within a proposed residential development, which meets the intent of the complete neighborhood land use designation. 2, whether the proposed zone change or zoning map amendment promotes the health, safety, or general welfare of the city and safe, orderly, and efficient and healthful development of the city. So as part of promoting health, safety, and welfare, the city should encourage development compatible with surrounding uses, utilizing standards and transitional uses to alleviate negative impacts. The proposed single-family residential district R6 and single-family residential district R2 dimensional and development standards as stated in UDC Section 2157A of the UDC are compatible with what is immediately in the surrounding area. And here you can see that table taken from our UDC, which shows this is proposed 70 by 120 lots and 60 by 120 lots. So 3, whether the use is permitted by the proposed change in zoning district classification and standards applicable to such uses will be appropriate in the immediate area of the line to be reclassified. So yes, the uses permitted in R6 and R2 are appropriate in the immediate area of the land to be reclassified. And again, the purpose and intent of R6 is to allow for residential lots with a minimum lot size of 7,200 square feet with schools, churches, and parks necessary to create, basic neighborhood units. And the purpose of R2 is to allow for single-family detached residential with a minimum lot size of 8,400 square feet with, again, school, churches, and parks necessary to create basic neighborhood units. 4, whether the proposed change is in accord with any existing or proposed plans for providing public schools, streets, water supply, sanitary sewers, or other public services and utilities to the area. So the City of Schertz is actually the water and sewer provider for this subject property. And Lower Seguin is identified as a secondary arterial with 90 feet of right-of-way in the master thoroughfare plan. There is a principal arterial with 120 to 130 feet of right-of-way on the western portion of the subject property. But I do want to point out that the subject property is currently not platted. So the City of Schertz Engineering Department will need to review all proposed access points onto Lower Seguin Road during the platting process. And a public hearing notice was mailed to SCUC-IZ to let them know of the proposed zone change. And as always, attachments to the staff report were the most recent demographic report and the 10 years campus forecasting presentation. And we let police, fire, and EMS departments know about the proposed zone change, and they let us know they don't have any concerns about servicing these areas. 5, whether there have been any environmental or economical changes which warrant the requested change. So the subject property was actually part of the recently annexed properties in July 2024 and was given the agricultural district AD zoning with annexation. The applicant was waiting for the annexation to start their proposed zone change request, and as you have seen, if you've gone that way on 1518 in Lower Seguin, significant changes are happening to Lower Seguin right now with new residential developments that are concurrent with the FM 1518 construction. 6, where there's an error in the original zoning of the property for which the change is requested. There was no error in the original zoning of the subject property. Again, it was given agricultural district 80 zoning with this annexation this July, and whether all the applicants' back taxes owed to the city have been paid in full, and this does not impact the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation to City Council. 8, whether other criteria met which at the discretion of the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council are deemed relevant and important in the consideration of the amendment. Staff has ensured all UDC requirements have been met for the proposed zone change, and at this time have not received any special consideration from the Planning and Zoning Commission or City Council. So due to the compatibility with the surrounding area, the implementation of the policies in the comprehensive land use plan and future land use map, staff is recommending approval of PLZC 2024-0115. Any comments or questions? And the applicant is here as well, if you have any questions.
All right. Will you make a presentation?
Me again, Patrick Christensen, 315 East Commerce, San Antonio, Texas. And since everyone in Schertz is a veteran, I should let you know I was in the Army. I didn't retire, but I sure used the Giotto. So, today I'm before you on behalf of Meritage Homes. They have the property under contract. They would like to do a single-family subdivision, all single-family, no commercial strips along Lower Seguin Road. As part of the rezoning, though, I should let you know we're asking for about 189 lots. I think that's going to probably change a little bit when we start talking to the city about the configuration of Lower Seguin Road as it crosses the creek. We'll have 16 acres of right-of-way and about 19 acres of open space. But as you saw from staff's presentation, I mean, the lots are pretty big, 7,200 square feet and 8,400 square feet. Those are pretty big in my book. But that's really it. We're just trying to do a single-family subdivision. As you know, Meritage Homes builds very nice homes at a nice price point. It's a beautiful part of the city. We were waiting, like staff said, waiting for it to be annexed so we could start the zoning process. As soon as the annexation was done, we submitted the zoning change application. So I would just respectfully request your support. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, once again, this is a public hearing. It is 7:54 p.m. or 1954 for us ex-military types. And at this time, I will open for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the commission on this particular topic is welcome to step up to the podium and give us your thoughts. Nobody? All right.
Todd Bishon, 8926 Green Grant. Just maybe if you could address this during your comments, because I have a question really for Mr. Christensen, or actually for Daisy, on the complete neighborhood. She mentioned schools, parks, churches. That's not part of this development, right? That's part of the broader, I guess, whole area in that area. So just wanted to confirm that. And then the price points. I think did you mention what the price points are going to be, just roughly for the houses?
All right, we'll get that.
That's
we'll
all.
get
Thank
that for you. Okay, thanks. Anybody else?
Name's Guillermo Guajardo, and I am at 12870 Lower Seguin Road. Do have some concerns with the development just because of the construction climate. I know that with the development across the street from us, Saddlebrook, the property sat for almost a year in mid-construction sense. So there's definitely some concerns that we're going to be left with something sitting there undeveloped for possibly the same amount of time, and definitely bring some concerns to me and my family in that regard.
All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else? Nobody? One more time. All right, it is 7:56 p.m. and public input is closed. Shift gears here and write that down real quick. All right, commissioners, who wants to start? Anybody? Because you know me, I got a list. I always have a list.
Daisy,
Go ahead, Richard.
Would you please go through a little bit slowly, more slowly, what the surrounding area is again, where the developments are, and I think that lift station down there is down there somewhere?
Let me pull up there. So this is Saddlebrook.
Okay.
And then this is Carmel Ranch over here. This is still a home with some ag, and this is just ag. This is Cibolo Creek, kind of that weird turn where it gets really narrow. They have a small bridge, and then it goes out to Cibolo, which is more ag. But yeah, it kind of gets to the end of our city limits off of Lower Seguin. So 1518 is all the way to the west.
Okay, and Rhine Valley is further west. than
Yes,
that.
Rhine
Okay.
Valley is a little more further west.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Do you know if this area is in or adjacent to a floodplain?
Yes, it is within the floodplain, and that will come into consideration when they plat. But again, this property is not platted at the moment.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Blake? All right.
I was just going to say regarding the price points, there is a Cibolo neighborhood of Meritage, and they start around $376 to $475, $990. So my assumption is they're going to be somewhere in that ballpark, but that's the new development in Cibolo. Those are the price points out there.
Hang on a second. Would you like to address the price points real quick? We'll just get that out of the way.
He's about spot on. I mean, I know they'd like to come in less expensive, but with interest rates, construction costs,
So high threes to low fours?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Is Lower Seguin's a city right away?
Yes, correct. It's not TxDOT or anything.
Okay. And is it part of any kind of proposed improvements?
So,
Oh, go on.
so that will come into the plating process. The applicant did mention right-of-way dedication. So again, when engineering evaluates the plat, they would discuss with them how wide that's going to be.
And that's Lower Seguin, not anything inside of the neighborhood, correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
And everything that's built within the city of Schertz, if it's not a gated community, has to be to city standards if it's public.
Okay, I really don't have a long list. But one of them is a soapbox. I did want to, could you put the site dimensions up there real quick for me? That's the old fire marshal in me. I just can't get past those. So R6 is 60 by 120, okay? And we're talking approximately 30 acres of R6, and I think that's in conformance with the reinstatement or the guidance from City Council about R6 and R7, right? It was 30 acres? Okay. And I'm sure you knew that. Okay. I don't remember, did you have a slide about the comprehensive land use plan, what this area was?
Yes, sir.
Because I think that'll answer the other question the gentleman had. So this is the soapbox part. This is what I was telling you early. When the original comprehensive land use plan, we had a vision of how we wanted Southern Schertz to look. And it was basically large lots, estate lots. It was not this cramped little typical subdivision. And as the developers started to react to market forces, that's not what people wanted. People wanted traditional, I don't want to call them small lots because we had this whole R6, R7 discussion a year or two ago. So I did some research. I live in Savannah Square up here on the hill in Savannah Drive. And basically, I think mine's R7, if I remember right, and it looks fine to me. Anyway, so we asked council for some guidance, and yeah, that's how we ended up where we are today. They'll consider up to 30 acres plus or minus. But if you could see, so this yellow area is complete neighborhood, and you read the description. And yeah, they're talking about a complete neighborhood. They're not talking about just single-family homes. This entire area out there in Southern Schertz is now complete neighborhood. And what we're going to see, no offense, is exactly what he brought to us tonight. We're not going to see anybody come in here and want to build what we might call a master plan community where they're going to include retail and churches and schools. No, this area is going to be covered with single-family homes. Now, there might be some spaces carved out for multifamily for R4. But I have not been a big fan of the recent, the new version of the comprehensive. I think it's, what I wrote here was comprehensive land use plan equals whatever you want. Because that's basically, there's very little stuff that you can't justify. And I keep asking the question you do. This is supposed to be a complete neighborhood. Where's everything else? Well, unfortunately, nobody's planning big areas like well, even Crossvine. You know, when that project started years ago, it was pretty much a master plan community. They had retail, they had a school, they had over 55 out, they had everything in it. Well, over the years, that's changed. I did want to ask you about the frontage along Lower Seguin Road. Did we do anything with the land use plan to put any commercial in there? Do you remember?
You'll see that more along FM 1518.
Okay. Because I know at one point, I think we talked about, and I can't remember what that designation is called,
It will be the
Regional
local
corridor?
corridor.
Yeah, just Commissioner or Chair, so we had conversations with Cibolo about their direction with Lower Seguin. And we had contemplating doing some commercial corridor along that, and they have no intention of doing any of that. So that's why we avoided that.
I mean, there's still lots of land out there. We may see a company in and want to do a small retail or something. Again, I just don't like this broad brush thing that we applied out there. So it's not really, but did we answer your questions? Okay. All right. So, go ahead.
Did we address the issue of potential for a monster home or monster community to ensue? Like, is there a dedicated start build and end build time?
Do you know?
Commissioner, what is monster community? I don't really.
So monster community is basically when you start building and then you stop and you walk away and it's left there for the community to then deal with. So, yeah. So hopefully, but.
Well, again, I mean, Meritage Homes, big national development company. I mean, they do their research. They plan to come in as soon as I finish with the zoning. They want to come in with the plats, start working on the streets. I mean, they want to build it. They think there's demand for homes out here in the city of Schertz. As far as anyone abandoning it, I can't see that happening. And short of economic Armageddon, I mean, we got bigger problems.
And the city has kind of addressed that because we have at least two of those subdivisions in Schertz where they were platted and no paved roads, but dirt roads were cut. And we're stuck with those now. And so the latest is there's a time limit on a master plan or whatever, correct? That if something isn't done within X number of years,
So I think you're talking about paper subdivisions where no infrastructure is built or they're completely abandoned, right? Where they're just dirt.
You can call it that.
Because they're within the city of Schertz, to become a legal lot, they have to go through the platting process where we look at this property and say, okay, this is what you have to do to meet our requirements. And it is a city requirement to connect to water and sewer. So they can't make it a legal lot and build anything and get building permits without actually building the infrastructure or, coming in with the subdivision improvement agreement so that we have the money in an escrow account to make sure, okay, if they bail, then we can come in and build it, and they already put up the money up front.
So there may be, come on, I can't even talk tonight. There may not be any homes built.
But the streets and the infrastructure
and the water and the sewer, unlike these two that I'd mentioned, where there are no utilities or anything. But once again, there was a time limit. Am I right, Emily?
So a preliminary plat approval is good for 2 years, and in that time, you either have to get a final plat or that preliminary plat expires.
Yeah.
Same thing with the final plat. Final plat, you have an approval for 2 years, and at that time, you have to have your public infrastructure constructed and accepted by the city and your plat recorded, or basically you have to go back through the process
Start over again, yeah.
There is the ability to get a 6-month extension on both of those, but that's the most.
So does that help any? Okay.
Just let me decide one last thing.
Sure,
Let's say
go ahead.
something happened. Zoning gets approved. We're starting to hire the engineers to finish the plat. Something happens in the economy, then they don't submit the plat applications. They don't record the plats. It just remains farmland until the economy turns around, and then somebody will come back with those plats and fix everything. So yeah, I understand you're concerned about the old rules, but most cities have fixed that to where once you start, you're locked in. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
There will eventually be retail and things to do down here, and I think Crossvine still has their city center plan at that intersection. But like anything else around here, it takes rooftops before these people are going to invest in retail. Look how long it's taken to get Schertz Station off the ground. Decades. But they're finally getting off the ground because there's rooftops out there and there's more traffic. So it'll happen down here eventually, just I don't know how soon, but maybe in 10 years.
Yeah, I looked at the bar shop brokerage sign up there on the HEB Lowe's property for years before something finally happened. So, anyone else? I'm wrestling with whether or not to comment, and probably better just to let it go. I'm looking here at, you know, one of the forms that was sent in, and yeah, okay, I'll just let it go. I understand where they're coming from. They're upset, and no, you know, and I tell everybody, unfortunately, it's a reality of today's world. It's, you know, I wish that could all stay farmland out there, but it's not going to happen. And I don't know where you have to move around here to get away from it, because, again, try 46 from between Seguin and 35. There are homes everywhere, but where you really want to go is take 306 north from 35 and drive up towards Canyon Lake. Holy moly, that place has just exploded. So,
You know, to speak on your point real quick, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
When we did this rezoning to RA 2 months ago, 3 months ago, the point was to, when projects came in that wanted to do this exact thing, that people would have an opportunity to speak. But, you know, I mean, at that point, we could have, I think it wasn't it supposed to be residential? I mean, I'm sure you don't have that right off the, but, you know.
yeah, I think they ended up zoning it all AD. And yes, and then because the idea, you're absolutely correct, was then let the individual landowners come in and say, no, I want this to be like we're seeing here. And it's not really that, it's them coming in and saying, so rather than us telling them it's going to be R2 or whatever, yes, your suggestion, right. And I assume what you showed us is the map hasn't been updated yet. When I see the RA in there, so, or was that already in the city?
That was already in the
Oh,
city.
okay.
Yeah, it was the
All right.
rear portion, that wasn't.
Okay. Well, I was going to talk about change. I don't like change, okay? And one of my former fire chiefs recognized that, and one morning I come to work and there's a little paperback book on my desk and it says, "Who Moved My Cheese?" And it's a book that's all about accepting change. And doesn't mean I like it, okay? All right, we have any more discussion on this? John, no, yes? Roderick?
Nope. Yeah, I make a motion
Go ahead.
that we approve PL SPU 2024-0142. Oh, that's the first, I'm sorry. Or recant that. I make a motion that we recommend approval of PLZC 2024-0155.
I'll second that.
All right.
My apologies, thank you.
Well, that's all right. I get lost all the time going through here. All right, so I have a motion from Commissioner Hector and a second from Commissioner McMaster to recommend approval of PLZC 2024-0155. Any further discussion or comments? All right, please record your vote. All right, I see 7 votes. Will you publish that, please? We have 7 ayes, none opposed. That motion passes. And again, this was on one of the opening strides. This is tentatively scheduled for the 3rd of September at City Council. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, item 5C is the 3rd public hearing, PLZC 2024-0153. That's the other thing, they don't always come in order, so yes. PLZC 2024-0153, conduct a public hearing and make a recommendation on a request to rezone approximately 79 acres of land from Planned Development District to single-family residential R1, known as Bexar County Property Identification Number 310060, more specifically known as 8676 Trainer Hill Road, City of Schertz, Bexar County, Texas. Daisy?
Good evening again, Commissioners. PLZC 2024-0153, a proposed zone change from PDD to single-family residential district R1 on approximately 79 acres. Daisy Marquez, planner. Here's the subject property outlined in green. It is actually located along Trainer Hill. Again, it's approximately 79 acres, and it is currently undeveloped. It is currently zoned PDD, and it was part of that larger proposed Sterling Grove PDD that was approved in 2022. But as you can see, it remains undeveloped and untouched since then. To the north is the rest of that proposed property that was within that PDD. To the south, we have Trainer Hill. To the east, we have properties within agricultural district. It has, as you can see, a residence, but it also has some ag. And then to the west, we have some properties that are still pre-development district and more of that planned development district. So on July 22nd, we sent out a total of 6 public hearing notices. And as of August 7th, we received 5 in favor. And 1 sign was posted on the property by the applicant, and it will be posted in the San Antonio Express before City Council. And the zone change is also tentatively scheduled for the September 3rd City Council meeting. So UDC Section 2144 again states that a zone change is required to establish the use of land and development associated with the proposed zoning classification for the purpose of establishing and maintaining sound, stable, and desirable development. And again, the proposed zone changes for approximately 79 acres of land to single-family residential district R1. So again, I'm going to go through criteria listed in UDC Section 2154D. 1, whether the proposed zone change or zoning map amendment implements the policies of the comp plan, including the land use classification of the property on the future land use map. So yes, the proposed R1 does implement the policies of the adopted comprehensive land use plan and future land use map. The subject property is identified as complete neighborhood in the future land use map, and complete neighborhood land use designation is meant to provide for a mixture of housing types with supporting land uses. You can see it here outlined in yellow along Trainer Hill, and just to help orient you, this is 1518 all the way to the west, and this is kind of that commercial you were talking about, the mixed use, the local corridor. The proposed single-family residential district R1 requires 9,600 square foot lots, which would provide for a housing type that is not yet along Trainer Hill Road. And the proposed zone change provides a new housing type within that immediate area, and it meets the intent of the comp plan, land use designation, and implements the policies of the adopted comprehensive land use plan. 2, whether the proposed zone change or zoning map amendment promotes the health, safety, or general welfare of the city and safe, orderly, efficient, and helpful development of the city. So again, as part of promoting health, safety, and general welfare, the city should encourage development compatible with surrounding uses, utilizing standards and transitional uses to alleviate negative impacts. And the dimensional requirements for single-family residential district R1, as listed in table 2157A seen here to the left, are compatible within the immediate area of the subject property. And again, you'll see that it's 80 by 120 lots and minimum square footage of 9,600 square feet. 2, whether the use is permitted by the proposed zone change in zoning district classification and the standards applicable to such uses will be appropriate in the immediate area of the land and be reclassified. Yes, the uses permitted in single-family residential district R1 are appropriate in the immediate area to be reclassified. The purpose and intent of R1 is for single-family detached residential dwellings on a minimum 9,600 square foot lot size, again, together with schools, churches, and parks necessary to create basic neighborhood units. The proposed R1 would allow for a maximum number of about 357 residential units at the minimum dimensional requirements listed in 2157A, but keep in mind this does not account for the required streets, larger lots, irregular lots, drainage, and any proposed amenities like parks. And additionally, the lot dimensions of the proposed R1 act as a transitional zoning district adjacent to the agricultural district properties to the east and to the pre-development district property to the west. 4, whether the proposed change is in accord with any existing or proposed plans for providing public schools, streets, water supply, sanitary sewers, or other public services and utilities to the area. So this subject property is actually within the Green Valley Special Utility District, CCN, for water and sewer. And the property is located along Trainer Hill Road, which is a secondary arterial with 90 feet of right-of-way per our master thoroughfare plan. And although the property is not currently platted, the City of Schertz Engineering Department will review all proposed access points for the development during the platting process. And a public hearing notice was mailed to SCUC ISD to notify them of the proposed zone change. And the City of Schertz Police, Fire, and EMS departments have not indicated that they have any concerns regarding the proposed rezoning requests or their ability to provide services. 5, whether there have been any environmental or economical changes which warrant the requested change. So, as I've stated, the subject property is currently within the Sterling Grove Planned Development District and has been since its approval with Ordinance 22S28 in 2022. And this subject property actually consists of portions of Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 of the Sterling Grove PDD. The PDD is built of single-family residential lots with a mixture of dimensions being 55 by 100 lots, 65 by 110 lots, and half-acre lots. And the PDD restricts development to the street layout and phasing that is dictated by the PDD and was approved by the PDD. And although the applicant can technically develop the land with the approved PDD dimensional requirements, they are dependent on the portions of undeveloped land for required points of access, streets, and other infrastructure. The properties within the Sterling Grove PDD that are within Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 do not have any current planning applications at this time. The applicant is ready to start the development process and start submitting planning applications for the subject property if the proposed zone change is approved. And leaving the Sterling Grove PDD and an approved zone change to single-family residential district R1 would allow the applicant to submit the appropriate planning applications without being restricted to the Sterling Grove PDD layout and without needing to depend on adjacent property owners to develop the required infrastructure the applicant needs. And if the zone change is approved, the applicant will need to meet all of the City Schertz requirements for their approximately 79 acres independently. 6, where there's an error in the original zoning of the property for which the change is requested. No, there was no error in the original zoning of the property. In 2022, the subject property is part of a larger proposed development known as Sterling Grove, PDD, and no ground has been broken for the proposed PDD since then. And the applicant is ready to develop and to meet the City of Schertz requirements. The applicant needs to change the street layout, which ultimately changes the intent and character of the Sterling Grove PDD. A zone change allows the applicant to develop the subject property sooner and submit the applicable planning applications. 7, whether all of the applicant's back taxes owed to the city have been paid in full. This does not affect the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation to City Council. 8, whether other criteria are met, which at the discretion of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council are deemed relevant and important in consideration of the amendment. Staff has ensured all UDC requirements have been met for the proposed zone change, and at this time have not received any special consideration from the Planning and Zoning Commission or City Council. So staff is recommending approval of PLZC 2024-0153, zone change to single-family residential district R1 due to its compatibility with the surrounding area, implementation of the comprehensive land use plan, and meeting the intent of the complete neighborhood land use designation. Any comments or questions? And the applicant is here as well if you have any questions for them.
All right, thank you. Come on up. You look familiar. You've been here before.
Sure, I've been here with the Saddlebrook and Carmel Ranch. Good evening, Paul Landa, MTR Engineers, here on behalf of the applicant, 12770 Cimarron Path, San Antonio, Texas, 78249. As was discussed, we did meet with staff, and due to the requirement of following the PDD, we thought it was best to separate this and make this a standalone project. Really the intent is the developer is looking to emulate Halley's Cove, which is just to the west, right there on 1518. Same builders, that's kind of what we're looking to do. And so this site is a great opportunity to provide similar housing to that type of community. So
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, this is a public hearing. It is 8:23 p.m. and the meeting is open for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the commission on this topic is welcome to step up to the podium. Nobody? Nobody. Oh, good, the clock changed. So it's 8:24 p.m. I hate it when I open and close it at the same time. All right, it is 8:24 p.m. and public input is closed. Commissioners?
Question for the applicant. So is this intended to be like an enclave subdivision, or is it going to provide access to the larger?
Right,
Okay.
we're required to provide access to the adjacent properties.
Okay.
But yes, we will have street stub outs to all adjoining properties.
Okay.
Is the Sterling Grove PDD still in effect?
Yeah, so even though they're trying to take their property or requesting to leave the PDD and be R1, whatever remains part of that Sterling Grove PDD can be built and still use those requirements that they established within that PDD.
All right, questions? Replat required?
It's not platted, so it would.
Oh, it hasn't been, okay.
Yes, correct.
Have they, so then they haven't submitted a master plan either yet? Okay. Well, yeah, Richard, it was a PDD, but all they give us is a, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not held to that, whatever diagram they give us.
Yeah.
Conceptual, yes. Is it the same developer as the PDD? Yeah. Okay. Like I say, just questions here. I've got one more. Number one, I don't think I was a big fan of Sterling Grove's PDD in the first place, but it seemed, is this the one where the wastewater CCN kind of cut through the property? So you had to have half-acre lots over here. Now, I'm assuming that the R1 is all on the other, on our side of that line?
So this portion was within that half-acre lot.
Okay, so that's why some of them are going to be half-acre. No?
The minimum lot size that they have to adhere to is R1, but they can go as big as they need to.
Yeah, but to get an on-site, whatever they call it.
They have to do minimum half-acre, correct?
Yeah, so, okay, here's what I'm trying to figure out. Within this area that we're being asked to rezone, is that entirely, does that have wastewater service to it?
So that's entirely within the Green Valley CCN.
Okay, so that,
And
well,
if I can interrupt,
yeah, go ahead.
there has been an agreement made between Green Valley and Schertz that Green Valley will provide, that will send their wastewater to the south plant.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's all taken care of.
Good. So that we're not going to be talking about any septic. It'll all be good. Sounds like a reasonable accommodation there. I got to go back and watch that video because I remember that was a big discussion about the whole thing. Yeah, so that's all I had. Anybody else got anything? Clayton? No? Okay. All right, so did you have something, Daisy? No? All right, so once again, this is a recommendation to City Council. We can recommend approval, denial, or approval with conditions. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of PLZ C 2024-0153.
Second.
That was Wallace down there on the end, the second?
Yeah. I'm too slow. I need to have my finger on them.
All righty, so we have a motion to recommend approval to City Council of PLZC 2024-0153. Is there any further discussion or comment? Please record your votes. You all getting ahead of me again here. All right, somebody's missing. Who's missing here? Yeah. There we go. Okay, I see 7 votes. You publish that, please. We have 7 ayes, none opposed. That motion passes. Thank you. All right, item number 6, items for individual consideration. 6A is PLRP 2024-0154. Consider and act upon a request for approval of a replat for the Royal Manufacturing Phase 3 subdivision lots 3 through 6, Block 3, approximately 75.24 acres of land generally located 1,860 feet to the west of the Tejas Way and Door Lane intersection, also known as Comal County Parcel ID 474772, City of Schertz, Comal County, Texas. I just wish Royal would make up their mind what they want to do up there. All right, go ahead, Sam.
PLRP 2024-0145, Royal Manufacturing Phase 3 replat of lots 3 through 6, Block 3, Samuel Hollis, Senior Planner. So here we are, the subject properties outlined in green. It's approximately 75 acres of land. It's currently zoned manufacturing light M1. This is Door Lane over here to the east, and this is Tejas Way. This is the very north of Schertz. So the original plat's been recorded. You'll see here it was lot 1 and lot 2, and then lot 2 is this much larger portion here, and essentially the applicant is proposing to replat this into 4 separate lots. This is 4, 6, and 5 you see on your screen here, and this is lot 3 down here. So as mentioned before, it's approximately 75 acres, zone manufacturing light. They're proposing to subdivide into 4 lots. Going back, you'll see that lots 3 and lots 5 here only have access through an access easement by this plat. Tejas Way is the public street. It does not have frontage to that. So under UDC section 2193J, every lot shall be provided with adequate access to a public street, either by direct frontage on such street or by public access easement approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's why we were here today to consider this. And the proposed replat is generally consistent with the applicable requirements, ordinances, regulation of this property, and has been reviewed with no objections by fire, engineering, and planning departments. Staff is recommending approval of PLRP 2024-0145. Comments or questions?
That's it? Okay. Not a public hearing. Cool. You already answered, see, you're reading my mind again, you know, because my question was, I thought you guys handled plats. It's because of that little thing that says we have to approve the access. Again, I'm sorry, guys, the fire marshal in me just won't go away. You know I'm not a big fan of Tejas Way. The city says you can't have dead-end streets, yet here we have one, a long one. So there's just, in my other experience, and you know maybe it's different when you plat it, where we've asked for fire access as a secondary means, and it ends up being gated by the, but I'm thinking since this separates the blocks, it'll be more, we're not cutting through somebody's back patio or whatever. So, but it's just the one, there'll be no access from the western side.
So you'll see there's an access easement here, there's an access easement here, there's an access easement here, and there's an access easement that goes to this block here. And I will mention that there's also cross-lot access along each of these up at the frontage.
Yeah, again, you know, my problem is with the state of Texas. And I remember the developer doing this. Their intent was to take Tejas Way and connect it to Ben Keith, going across the railroad tracks. And the Railroad Commission came out and said, no more grade crossings. Thank you, Austin. I really appreciate it. And soapbox, put away. Okay, I'll push it back under that. Anybody else have anything? Clean?
The easements are irrevocable, correct? Or not, I'm sorry, not, they can't be closed off, correct?
I mean, I would say they can be, but I mean, there is a process in which to vacate easements, but they are, but yeah, these are public access easements, right? So, yeah, okay.
And those one or two instances where we have fire lanes that run around and those gates have Knox locks on them, so we have access. Anyone else? All right, this is, we can approve this one. Cool. All right. So again, though, we can approve, deny, or approve with conditions, but this is our action tonight. So if someone would like to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve PLRP 2024-0154.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Commissioner McMaster. All right, so I have a motion and a second to approve PLRP 2024-0154. Any further comments or questions? Please record your vote. All right, I see 7 votes. Would you publish that, please? We have 7 ayes, none opposed. That motion passes. Thank you. Requests and announcements, item 7A, request by commissioners to place items on future P&Z agenda. Anybody have anything? No? All right, 7B, announcements by commissioners. Anybody have anything? All right, I'm going to ask a question, and, Dan can slap my wrist later. I have not watched the video from last night's council meeting. Can I assume the reappointments were all approved? Okay. So that was myself and Judy and John and who was us? Danielle? Anyway, cool. So we all got reappointed. Sometimes I wonder that one of these days they're going to get fed up with me, but apparently I'm okay for now. Actually, I'm having fun tonight. I told Emily as I walked in, because this afternoon was not good, so I told her my cranky meter was pretty high. It's gone down quite a bit since I've been here. All right. 7C, announcements by city staff. You all have anything? Nothing? Okay, it is 8:37 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.